The Bible is very interesting and it has a lot of great stories in it. And one of the greatest story that is in the Bible is Hagar and Ishmael. You'll find this in chapter 16 in Genesis. This story starts off in chapter 15 of Genesis with Abraham. Abraham, which is not Abram. He's Abram right now. He's not Abraham. He's Abram. God has not yet made his covenant with him. God has promised him and told him to leave his family and move on to a place that he will show him, to leave his relatives, to leave his family. But Abraham has a problem with leaving his family. So he brings a nephew with him that benefits only him, but not his wife. So you can find this part in Genesis chapter 12. So Abraham, journeying on, finds himself in Egypt. There was a famine in the land in Canaan, and he finds himself down in Egypt. And while he's down there, the Pharaoh in Egypt saw Sarah, his wife, which she was a beautiful woman, and he took her. So Abraham had to come out of this ordeal. Abraham lies and says she's my sister's. So he was scared that the Pharaoh would kill him for her. So he comes out of this ordeal, and when he does, he comes out very wealthy. He comes out with a 8-figure job. He gets a nice big house on a hill. He gets a 2-car garage with a BMW Jeep parked on the other side. He got a lakefront property, 16, almost 17 acres of land. And he's doing big things now. And he's got a beautiful woman. But the thing with all of this is Abraham is a deep-rooted family man, but his wife can't conceive. His wife is barren. She can't have children. And Abraham is feeling the need and feeling the want to have children. And so later on, God tells Abraham in a prayer that he has to part from Lot. So he parts from his nephew. And I'm paraphrasing this to get to where we need to be. And as Abraham parts from Lot, he tells Lot, you go to the right, I'll go to the left. So Lot said, I'll go to Sodom and Gomorrah. He sees this beautiful land. He sees this oasis sitting over to the side. He said, I'll go there. Lot said, I ain't no struggler like you. And I need a city. I need a town. I can't be out here in this country like this. So Lot went over to Sodom and Gomorrah. And as he went, he didn't know that Sodom and Gomorrah was under scrutiny. They was battling with a native country or a native tribe that was next to them. So he found himself in the middle of a conflict. And within doing so, they took Lot and his family and they took him to another place. And a man comes to Abram and tell Abram they took your nephew. They took Lot. And Abram jumps up, he runs and he goes and he tries to, and he brings Lot back. Now, Abram is not a fighter. He took farmers, he took maid servants, he took servants to go help him. So he's not a fighter, but he managed to get him back because God is with him and God has promised to be with him. He said, I'll bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. He promised to walk with him. So Abram brings Lot back. But I'm pretty sure in that conflict or in that little battle that he had, that he probably had a near-death experience. And it got him thinking now. It's got him worried now. I got this house on the hill. I got 17 acres. I got 2-car garage. I got money flowing out the can, but I have no family. I have no child. I have no children. I got the beautiful wife. She's fine. She's pretty, man. She looks good, but I have no children. All of this will go to whoever or serving in my house, or it'll be left for the auction. So he wants a heir. He wants somebody he can leave his stuff to. You know, back then it was important to have somebody in your house who you can leave stuff to. You know, so it was very important to have a male child back then. A man that had a male child was truly blessed. So he wants this male child, or he wants a child. particularly a male. So anyway, we comes up to chapter 15 in Genesis. So now we're at chapter 15, and God visited Abraham in a vision, and he's talking to Abram, and he said, "Fear not, I am your shelter, I am your God, I am your Lord, and you exceed great reward." And Abraham says to God, in Genesis chapter 15, verse 2, "But Abraham said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless?" He can't even enjoy all that God has bestowed on him. God has put him in a house, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. God has given him a job of his dreams. God has took this boy from a shack to a castle. He's living out. He's got a beautiful wife that he probably couldn't get in 10 times, and he's doing major things. He's doing major things, but he can't enjoy none of it because he's wanting something else. He wanting something else. He wanting this child so bad that he can't even enjoy the blessings that he has right now. This is what Abraham says to the Lord. What would you give me, seeing I go childless? What I want the most, Lord, you haven't given me. And God is a good God. He's a God that watches over. Not only do he cares about us so much, he even wants to give us our wants. Because look what he tells Abraham. And listen what God tells Abraham in verse 4. "And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one should not be thy heir." Your servant, your maidservant should not be thy heir, but one born from you will be your heir. So he's going to give him his want. He loved him. He told him, "Look, I made my covenant. I put a promise with you. Now I'm going to give you your wants. I've been giving you your needs. Now I'm going to give you your wants." So Abraham had just received a confirmation from God. He tells him, "Look, you're going to have a child, and the child's going to come from you." But what he does not tell him is who it's going to come from, when it's going to come, and how it's going to come. He didn't tell him that. He didn't tell him who it was going to come from, and he didn't tell him when it was going to come. But he did tell him it was going to come. So I can think in my small town mind that Abram at this time done ran home to Sarah and said, "Look, God is going to give us a child. God is going to give us a child, baby. We're going to get a child. God has made a promise to me and a covenant with me." You remember early, God told us to leave home, and look what happened. We sitting up in this big, beautiful house. We got the cars out there. We got this nice, fancy job. We doing good, baby. God done told us we going to have a child. And now they've been trying. Now this is bringing us to Hagar and Ishmael, chapter 16. And now they've been trying, and it ain't happening. Sarah is starting to feel the pressure. I'm pretty sure Abraham's probably walking around the house with a sour attitude. I'm pretty sure he's all slamming doors. I'm pretty sure he's looking at her with a little disgust because he wants a child real bad. Pretty sure he's looking at her with a little disgust. I'm pretty sure and she's feeling the pressure. She's feeling the pressure. I'm pretty sure there have been some heated conversations. I'm pretty sure that the house is not warm to walk in sometimes. And now Sarah comes up with this bright idea. This is what Sarah says. I can't have children. We're in chapter 16. I can't have children, but I have an Egypt maid named Hagar. See now the Lord retained me from having barren children. I'm in chapter 1. Please go in to my maidservant. Perhaps I shall attain children by her. Now she's saying, look, we can use her, and I can use her to get some children. So Sarah's thinking selfishly right now. Kind of like Eve in the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, when she turns to her husband and say, "Hey, eat this apple." Now Adam eats the apple. Now here's the same situation with Sarah turning to Abram. Look, you get my maidservant. Take my maidservant, and we can have children by her. But he doesn't do it right offhand. He's probably like, well, let's see what happened. Let's see if God give us this child. So 10 years passed by before Abram even touched Hagar. Now Sarah done gave this servant girl to her husband as a wife. Not just as a concubine. He gave it to her as a wife. So she done put this slave girl on the same statue as herself. She done made her equal to her. So now you got the slave girl that ain't had no job, now making 6 figures, now driving a BMW, done came up a little bit, and she's rolling with the man. So she been seen around town with the man. You know, she done been seen around town. Oh, when that girl get with this dude, ain't that the CEO of the company? I thought she was, yeah. So now she big timing. So anyway, we back at the story. So Abraham doesn't touch her. 10 years pass by. So now he goes in. So now he's got. Sarah was doubting. She done started doubting. She was doubting that God is not, this ain't gonna happen. She done doubt. But then she come up with this bright idea in her mind that she's gonna help God out. She convinced in herself that she's gonna help God, do God a favor. I got this bright idea. I'm going to do God a favor. I know God said it's going to happen. This, you know what? I got this servant girl. This is what we're going to do. And Abram listened to her. Careful who we lend our ear to. So Abram starts to doubt after 10 years. He starts to doubt. Now, this girl, he goes in, sleep with this girl. Now this girl got a baby. Now she conceives. Now Hagar is starting to act funny. She's pregnant by the CEO. She's pregnant by the man. She's walking around with mink coats on and scrubbing her stuff. And she's starting to treat Sarah funny. And Sarah said, look, Hagar is starting to treat me spitefully. The Bible says she's starting to treat me spitefully. She's starting to act ugly towards me. And she brings it to Abram, and Abram like, look, I want the child. You do what you want to. You do what you need to do with Hagar. I just want the child. And so Sarah, he disnounces when he says that to Sarah, he disnounces marriage to Hagar right then and there. Yes, you're right. She is your maidservant. You do what you need to do with her. So he denounced his marriage right then and there, made her a maid again. So now she's not up there where she needs to be anymore. Now she's back down. But you can't bring me from up and take me back down. Once you've been up, you've been up. You can't go back down. So now Hagar is Sarah maid again. And Hagar doesn't like that. She doesn't like that. She's like, look, I done tasted the good stuff. I can't go back down here. So Hagar says, no, I'm out of here. I got to go. So she runs away. And as Hagar runs away, and she's sitting at the train station, sitting at the bus station, the Bible said it like this. So Abraham said to Sarah, indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please. And when Sarah started treating her spitefully, she ran away. Now this is, and we go to verse 7. Now an angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shahar. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, where have you come from? And where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarah. The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants. He said, look, go back. He tells her, go back. Fix the attitude. She's treating you like this because now you have come up and you have experienced something that you never experienced before. You was a slave, you was a servant. Now you started sleeping in a nice home. Now you started getting a nice job. Now here you are, the servant mother of two wealthy people. You're coming up a little bit, and now your attitude got stank. You got a nasty attitude. It's an ugly attitude. You know how we are when we don't have nothing and then we get something, we can't adjust to it. That's what happened to Hagar. And the angel tells Hagar, go back, fix your attitude. Get yourself together, girl. Drop that ugly attitude, because the reason Sarah is treating you bad because the way you are acting. Fix your attitude, go back. And then the angel said, God will bless you. He will bless you from doing this. And Hagar obeys the Lord. She obeys the Lord. She obeys the Lord. She does what God tells her to do. And she calls the place Arah. She calls the place Arah. She says she calls it that because she says, God sees me. She said, God sees me. I didn't pray that God would find me here. I didn't pray that things would get better. God sees me. God sees the situation I'm in. God sees the terrible spot that I'm in. I'm standing at the bus stop with a child in my belly. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm waiting I'm standing out here by the street with my thumb out. I'm in a bad situation, and God finds me where I'm at and give me direction. Hagar is the only one that's listening to God right now. And she's an Egypt girl. She don't even get down like that. The two that are supposed to be Christian, the two that's supposed to be churchgoers, the two that's supposed to be dealing in the faith and believing, ain't even believing right now. They got so much doubt going on. They got so much distrust in what God's going to do right now. They're pulling all kind of tricks. They're thinking they're helping God. They're thinking they're doing what they need to do. Oh, you don't believe me? Let's go to Genesis 18. Is it Genesis 18? Yeah. Abraham, the Lord, I'm sorry, go to Genesis 17. When you go to Genesis 17, listen to what God started making a covenant with Abraham. My covenant with him. He started talking to Abram and started making a covenant with him. And he tells Abram, within doing so, he tells Abram, I want to make sure I'm in the right chapter here. Yeah, when in doing so, he's telling Abram what's going to happen. He's telling him what's going to go down. And he said, look, your wife, you're going to bear a child. And Abram said, it's in chapter 17, verse 17. Chapter 17, verse 17. Then Abram fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be buried to a man who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child? And Abram said to God, Abram says to God, we took care of this. Me and my wife got together and we fixed this little problem that you didn't take care of. We got to see what we did. We got this maid servant, and we brought her in as a surrogate mother. So we took care of this. So listen to what he said. And Abram says to God, that Ishmael might live before you. Then God says to him, no. God says, no, man. That ain't my plan. That ain't what I had in plan. That ain't none of my intentions. That's all your attention. See, what we don't know is When God visits Hagar and tells Hagar to go back, all she tells Abraham is to name the child Ishmael. She don't tell him that you visit the Lord, that I have visited. She go back with a good attitude. She go back and fix her posture. She got everything in line. And now here comes Abraham in chapter 17, going to tell God in the covenant, when they having the covenant conversation, that look, hey, we done fixed that situation. God said, no, you ain't. That ain't who I had in plan. That's you and your wife cooking that junk up. That's your ideal of what should happen. That ain't got nothing to do with what I want. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And you will find that in Genesis chapter 17, verse 17. Because God said that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's you and your wife. I cleaned up the mess that y'all made. I straightened all that up. I fixed all that. See, sometimes we think we have so much faith, but when God doesn't come when we think he should come, we doubt.